Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his Son. Hear, O Yasharol, Yahuwah our Mighty One is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you celebrating the first fruits. Now this feast comes immediately after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is all connected to our harvest. What harvest, Brother David? Oh yeah, that's right. We don't have a harvest. We were violently evicted from the land. We have someone over there posing to be you. And they're trying to bring their harvest in on time in its due season. This is why they've added a 13th month. Their harvest didn't come in on time. Now, when you go on the internet and you ask for what date for the Passover or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, they're going to tell you that it's been postponed from the month of March and taken in to the month of April. April 19th, they say. You can see it all over the internet. It's the only post on the internet when you type it in. Now, if you delay it for another month, adding a 13th month to the year, is that biblical? Do you know of any statute that states that you are to do that? Well, in order to find out, we have to take a look at the statute. Remember what the Father says. With his law, you cannot add to it, nor take away from it. You cannot go to the right hand or to the left hand. Let's begin. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9 to 12. I will be speaking slowly. I want you to understand the statute. So bear with me, please. Verse 9. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, verse 10, speak unto the children of Israel, that's Yasharol. So we have our target group. Did he say speak unto anyone else? And say unto them, when you be come into the land, which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. Note, we're not in the land anymore. We were evicted. Do we have a harvest? No, we do not. Can we identify the priesthood? No, we cannot. Verse 11. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahuwah. Who shall wave the sheaf? A lot of people are creating proxies. Is it going to be your elder, your pastor, your bishop? The priest shall wave the sheaf before Yahuwah. Can we identify the priesthood anymore? No, we cannot. To be accepted for you, on the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Verse 12. And ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf, an he lamb, without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto Yahuwah. So we see all of these things here we cannot do. Then when we come down to verse 12, we have the sacrifice. Now we can get a little understanding of what's going on in the heavenly realms. Why our Father gave us his sacrifice, his son, our brother, our Mashiach, Yahusha, who went to that tree and died for you and me. He is now in heaven making continual intercession on your behalf. That is your priest. So all of the things that you have here, which you cannot do in the land of your captivity, he's got this stuff handled in the heavenly realms. Verse 13. Remember our Mashiach, Yahusha, the Messiah. He is handling all of this in the heavenly realm on your behalf. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. Verse 14. And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your mighty one. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all of your dwellings. You see that, brothers and sisters? Forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Now do you see the importance of our Mashiach? It's not just that he came and gave himself as a ransom for your sins, but he is also your high priest. He's handling all of these things on your behalf in the heavenly realms because he knows that you cannot do it in the land of your captivity. Now look at verse 14. Verse 14 is the reason why the Jews delayed their Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread to a 13th month. Because you can't eat or partake of any of the fruit that comes from the earth until you have presented yourself before Yahuwah. Note, there's no temple. No one can present themselves. Can't take it to the elder, the rabbi, the pastor, the bishop. Can't do that. They cannot identify the priesthood. They don't rely on Yahusha, our Mashiach. They have totally denied him. So they have no intercessor. So they're trying to make this thing happen in front of your face. They're trying to make you think that they're carrying out these laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments exactly the way the Father said that it should be done. But they cannot. The reason that they've gotten over all of these years is because we were still asleep. But we're awakening now. We're learning the Father's laws. We're learning how exclusive it is. It only applies to us. Even if someone comes and they're an imposter, the promises and the curses will show you that they are not the authentic item. You are. You, the ones who they call all types of names, in the lands of your captivity, you are the object of Yahuwah's affections, not them. Because their harvest did not come in on time, they added a 13th month. Now, we just went through the statute here. Did you see anything? And I also want you to look at the account in Exodus. Look at also the account in Deuteronomy. Did you see any statute here that says if your harvest doesn't come in on time, then you are to add a 13th month? Look for it. I presented this question to all of them. You're not speaking to me anymore because it does not exist. They're imposters. And the reason that they're over there enjoying all of the attention from around the world is because we transgressed the law. But we're coming back to him, aren't we? Now, if all of these things here, we can't do any of it, what is it that we can do? On this day, this morrow after the Sabbath, the beginning of your count to the Feast of Weeks, you are in lamentation. Why are we in lamentation, Brother David? Because you were evicted from the land. And there's a foolish people who are over there posing like they are you. They're getting the attention of the world. The churches are sending them money. The United States of America is giving them $50 billion a year, your taxpayer dollars. Because people are believing that they are the children of Yasharal with no investigation. We all were guilty of this, thinking that they are the authentic people. But they are not. They're fake. This is going to prove to you that they're fake. The harvest has to come in its due season. And because this harvest didn't come in its due season, they added a 13th month. This is why you're in lamentation. You're in mourning, because you have imposters over there, changing the laws of your mighty one, creating statutes that do not exist in the scripture. You have been evicted off the land. This is the time that we should cry out to Yahuwah. Use as a template 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14. If my people, only if my people, if they will humble, get themselves down on their hands and knees and pray and seek my face with their heart, their mind, and their soul, and turn from their wicked ways, stop their transgressions of the law, then and only then will they hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins. Here it is. And will heal the land. Did you know that the land is cursed also? The land was cursed right alongside of us. The Father has shut up his treasures from heaven. This is why the Jews could not bring it in on time. Let's look at the statute that they've created to try to validate this position that you can add a 13th month. This year, the Aviv barley search has turned out to be an interesting one indeed. There were, as expected, some conflicting reports on the status of the barley within Israel this year, ranging from full Abib declarations to none at all. After inspecting all of the various reports, we have come to the following conclusion. There is not a sufficient amount of matured barley to declare this coming renewed moon day as being at a time of Abib. What are they telling you here? The barley was not matured. The new moon's day came out on March the 7th in the evening, which made March 8th the new moon's day. They said, we have to delay that month or the feast of Passover for another month because our harvest did not come in on time. Remember, the harvest is connected to these feast days. Now let's look at the statute that they came up with, why they could not have the Passover in the month of March. To review, there are three primary characteristics of barley we look for. One, that it is brittle enough to be destroyed by hail and has begun to lighten in color. Two, the seeds have produced enough dry material so it can be immediately eaten when parched in the fire. Three, there is sufficient quantity to clearly indicate maturity that will be fully harvest ready within a few weeks. Tell me something. We read the statute in the beginning. You can also read the account in Exodus and Deuteronomy also. I could not find anything that stated this. When I went to their rabbis and some of the friends, the Jews that I know, I asked them these questions. Most of them will tell you the same thing. Well, we don't know why you have to ask the rabbi. Only the rabbi can tell you that. If you ask the rabbi, he's going to take you through all of this junk here. Then if you ask the rabbi, could you show me that statute in Torah? He's going to get nervous. Because now he knows that you have awakened. That we're not dealing here with Talmud or any other book. Torah, the 5 books of Moses, are the only thing that the Yisraelites, the Israelites in the Bible followed. The Father only gave us one book. We can't go to the right hand or to the left. We must stick to the script. He said, come back to the old ways, which is the good way, and you will find rest for your soul. The Jews have created something different. Look, ultimately, we believe there are no fields within the area of Israel that were found to be dominantly abib, that means harvest ready, in any sufficient quantities that would be considered harvestable at this time. We understand that others will draw different conclusions, and you can view many of these various reports on our Facebook page. But our deduction is based on historical patterns and consistent characteristics of searches performed in past years. Did you hear what they just told you? It's not based on Torah. It's not based on your Bible. It's not based on the laws, the statutes, the judgments, and commandments. It's based on historical patterns that their rabbis have created that were performed in years past. Remember, we've been off the land for almost 2,000 years. One thing to keep in mind, the groups that are declaring Abib believe that if this coming month is not declared as being the first of the year, that the barley fields will fully mature and be completely destroyed prior to an April Passover. There's another group there that says, no, we're going to declare Abib to be in the month of March. And if you delay it, the harvest is going to come in and it's going to be destroyed. But they've decided to bring it in April 19th to be exact. However, there is no requirement that the fields not be harvested. Listen to this. The biblical requirement was that the barley not be eaten until the first fruit omer was offered at the time of Passover. Now they've gone to the scripture. They went to verse 14. That's what we just read. That omer means sheaf that you're supposed to give to the priest to wave on your behalf. Remember, they do not believe in Yahusha. Who do they believe in? I don't know. But the priesthood cannot be identified. Neither do they have a temple. So who are they going to offer this Omer to? They delayed the Feast of Unleavened Bread because the harvest didn't come in on time. Who are they going to offer this sheaf to wave to them? Because they can't partake of the harvest until the priest waves the sheaf. Remember, all of this is supposed to be done when ye be come into the land. Let's continue reading. This means that barley may become mature enough to harvest during this coming month. But it does not mean we would let it become brittle and fall apart before harvesting it. With the quantities being so incredibly small, essentially, this situation would be the equivalent of a crescent moon only being seen with a telescope and not confirmed with a naked eye. They use some truth mixed in with a lot of lies, and they've convinced the world that they are the covenant people with the lies. Now listen, the Father says when you be come into the land, all of us who have studied and are going through the book of Deuteronomy, and we're going through all of the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments, we know that when you come into the land, if you're keeping his covenant, his laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments, that your harvest is going to be so bountiful that you won't be able to store it. Because Yahuwah is going to bring in your harvest in his season, right on time, every year. Who's responsible for it? Yahuwah's going to do this. Who's trying to bring this harvest in on time here? The Jews. It did not work for them. So what they have to do is manipulate the circumstances. We have to delay the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread for another month, because they say we could not bring in the harvest on time. Not Yahuwah. They couldn't bring the harvest in on time. Now, for all of us who are academics, all of us who are free thinkers, this is a revelation. What revelation is that, Brother David? You can steal the land. You can steal the identity of the children of Yasharal. You can fake it that you're being blessed in the land as per the Balfour Agreement. But one thing you cannot do, you cannot steal the promises. The promises only come from Yahuwah. You cannot manipulate the land. You cannot manipulate nature. Only Yahuwah can bring in this harvest in his season. What is his season? Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, first fruits, Pentecost, Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Yahuwah is required, as per his contract with the children of Yasharal, to bring in your harvest in his due season every single year. And if he doesn't do that, he is a liar. Why do you think he didn't do that for them? Because they are not the children of the covenant. You see how simple this is? All you have to do is use Torah and it will show you who these imposters are. I want you to see this video. Very important so that you can get your mind situated correctly. Israeli Water Week, the importance of water management systems. Did you know that the whole land, our land, is cursed? When we were cursed and sent into exile, the land was cursed right alongside of us, and it will remain desolate until we return. These people, the imposters, they're using water management systems, technology today, less water, to try to produce more crops. When you see the video, you'll understand. He's going to also tell you that the whole land is a desert. And it's supposed to be because it's cursed. It will only flourish. It will only become a Garden of Eden when we return. Here's a map of the continent of Africa. In your upper right-hand corner there's a little piece of land that seems almost disconnected from the main body. That is the land that was promised to our father, our patriarch, Jacob, Yasharal. That's the promised land. It's desert. It's dry. It's desolate, even though there are people living there now. Look on the top what the Father says in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Why did this happen? Because the land is experiencing the curses. The land is connected to you. It's connected to Yasharal, the people that are in the lands of their captivity. The Father says that it would be desolate and cursed until we return. That's why your prayer was coming from 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. Look what he says on the top in Deuteronomy 28, verse 23. This is what happened because we transgressed his law. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Verse 24, Yahweh shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. So he's not pouring out his rain in his season because the land is cursed. We are not there. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. All you have to do is just go and type in dust storms. In this land, in the Middle East, that's what they call it, the Middle East. They don't want to call it Africa because they know that Africa's for black folks. So they separated it and called it the Middle East. But look at it. It's evident that that is a part of the continent of Africa. If you type in dust storms in the Middle East, you'll see that they're experiencing that. That's a curse. The Garden of Eden is the promised land. But because of our sin, because of Adam's sin, doesn't it sound familiar? It was shut up. It is cursed. It is desolate. It is right there before us, and we didn't know. We were in the garden again. Yahweh came and delivered us out of bondage in Egypt and brought us into the promised land, this Garden of Eden. And he promoted us, and we demoted ourselves because of disobedience and rebellion. Now we're fighting to come back to him. And we have been provoked to jealousy by the most foolish people on the planet Earth. Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 33 to 36. Thus saith Yahuwah, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the wastes shall be builded. He said, in the day. Anytime you say, in that day, in the day, that great and terrible day, that is the time of the Mashiach's return. The first thing that has to happen is that we shall be cleansed of our iniquities. Do you think the Jews have been cleansed of their iniquities? No, they haven't. They're the most wicked people on the planet. Then he says, I will cause you to dwell in the cities. Did you see the Mashiach come and bring them over there? The Balfour Agreement, look it up, brought them into the land. And the wastes shall be builded. The place is still desolate. They're just dwelling in just a little corner. Most of the land is desolate, brothers and sisters, a desert. He says those desert places are going to be rebuilt. Verse 34, and the desolate land, the desert land, shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that pass by. So this land that we're going to harvest, and it's going to bring forth our harvest, our fruit in due season, in his season, is a desert at this moment. Verse 35, and they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. Now you see where I got it from. Think about it, brothers and sisters. We were in the land already. We were evicted. We were evicted from the Garden of Eden for transgression of the law. There is nothing new under the sun. The same thing happened to our forefather, Adam. He was evicted from the Garden of Eden for transgression of the law. We had it all. But because of our rebellion, we have been demoted to what? Homeborn slaves. We have no land. We've been stripped of our culture. We're just beginning to rediscover the name of our Father. All of these things are the outcome of transgression of the law. And the word is sin. That's what sin means. Transgressing the Father's law. But when we return, after we've been refined, as silver is refined, look what it says next. Then the waste and desolate and ruined cities are going to be fenced and inhabited. Right now, they are uninhabited. They are desolate. They had you focused on some little piece of land that they call Jerusalem that is up in the northwest part of the land. And that's where our focus has been all of this time. The wrong places. Look at 36. Then the heathen, the European, the Muslims, the Jews, the Hamites, the Shemites, the Japhetites, that are round about you, the ones that are left, shall know that Yahuwah, built the ruined places. Did you see Yahuwah come over there and build those places for those Jews? And plant that was desolate. Yahuwah didn't do that. They're using technology and irrigation systems. I, Yahuwah, have spoken it. If he says it, and I will do it. Who's responsible to make your harvest come in his season? You? The Jews? Technology? This passage tells you Yahuwah. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 12. Yahuwah shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. Now, this is a part of the promises. We've been going through Deuteronomy. We know that the Father says that this is what he would do for us if we would keep his commandments. Who's going to open their treasures unto us? From the heavens to give us rain unto the land in his season. You see the word his? That's a pronoun. It describes a person, place, or thing. Whose season is this? Yahuwah's season. Whose land is it? Your land. He will only open up these treasures that come from heaven if you are in the land. Like I said before, you can take the land. You can try to steal our culture. But you can't take the promises. The promises can only be handed out by Yahuwah. And then he says that he was going to bless all the work of thine hand. Everything you put your hands to will be blessed. Are they blessed over there? Well, they're posing like they are. How many nations have been attacking them? The Father says any nation that does not bow down and kiss our feet in that day, he's going to wipe them off the face of the earth. Why is Iran still here? Why is Saudi Arabia still here? Why is Syria still here? Why are all the nations that are around about them shooting rockets and they're in turmoil all the time? The Father says, when we return, we shall dwell safely. That chariot shall be in the cloud, hovering over the land, protecting us. Do you see anything like that? They were able to perpetrate this fraud because none of us have investigated. We were too busy running around talking about we're Christians and loving Jesus, the same God that brought us over here in these ships. The Feast of Weeks. Now, the first fruits culminates to the Feast of Weeks. They're connected. All of these feasts are connected to the harvest. So from that day, on that morrow, after the Sabbath, when the priest was supposed to wave the sheaf on your behalf, that is the starting point so that you can do your count, so that you can find the Feast of Weeks. Now, the Feast of Weeks goes by a few names so that you don't get it confused or you don't know what they're talking about when they say it. Shabbat is what the Jews say. Pentecost, the Europeans. And the term that the Bible uses, the Feast of Weeks, or 7 Sabbaths, must be complete. Let's look at the statute. Verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, that's after the feast of unleavened bread, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Verse 16. Indeed, unto the morrow, after the 7th Sabbath, shall ye number 50 days. So you are to count 7 Sabbaths plus 1 day, and you will have 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahuwah. We don't have to worry about any of those things. In the land of our captivity, we have our Mashiach. Yahusha, our Messiah, is in the heavenly realms making continual intercession on our behalf. No offerings necessary. Verse 17. Ye shall bring out your habitation 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto Yahuwah. So it's telling you that you can bake with leaven now. This is going to be your first fruits unto Yahuwah. When is this going to be? After 7 Sabbaths plus 1 day is complete. Here's another connection to the harvest. Note, we're not in the land. We don't have a harvest. We don't have a priest that we can bring it to. We can't identify the priesthood in the lands of our captivity. So we can't do this. But our Mashiach is making continual intercession for us. Verse 18. And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto Yahuwah, with their meat offering and their drink offerings, even an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. Do we have to offer the blood of goats and bulls and lambs anymore? Yahusha, our Passover, was already sacrificed for us. There is no more need for any of these things. Now, here's the part that I found that no one really knows. The reason that no one knows this is because they're coming from the new moon to find the feast. But when they want to find the Feast of Weeks, Shabbat, or Pentecost, whichever name you want to call it, they go back to the Gregorian calendar to count those days. Let me say that again, in case you don't understand these terms. Most of the people on my channel are pretty much familiar with the ways of the world. When you are to find the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you have to go by the new moon. When the new moon comes out, then you begin to do your count. The 14th day in the evening is where you will find his Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Once you have found that from the new moon calendar, let me tell you what we were doing before, because we were in such a strong delusion following men. We would come off the new moon calendar, because the moon is the sign of feast, and then go to the Gregorian calendar to count the Jews' Sabbath days to come to the Feast of Weeks. How crazy is that? Yahuwah's way to begin, Satan's way to end. So I said I need to show you how this thing is done. Okay, these are 2 sky calendars. We're going to do our count. He told you 7 Sabbaths must be complete. He used that terminology, 7 Sabbaths, 7 weeks. He used that terminology because that's how you count on the sky calendar, not on the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar flows from month to month, week to week, year to year without end. It doesn't have a starting point. The new moon calendar starts renewed every single month. He put it in the sky for the whole world to see. We bypass his way of counting the days to go to the Europeans' ways of counting the days. The book of Daniel told you from the beginning they were going to change times and laws. I think you need to get on board with this. Learn that we are in the matrix. We are in an alternative universe. All right, let's see how to count. Now, the first thing that you must do is overlay the sky calendar on top of the Gregorian calendar to find Yahuwah's days. We have to live out our daily life in a Gregorian calendar. But to find Yahuwah's feast days, we have to learn how to count on the new moon calendar and find what day is going to come in on the Gregorian calendar. So let me show you how it's done. The first thing you have to do is that you have to spot the new moon. Your month starts from the new moon. So once you've identified new moon's day, then you can begin your count. On the first calendar, you see the 15th day? That was our Passover. Do you see the 22nd day? That was the end of the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, 7 days. Then it says on the morrow after the Sabbath, which was the 22nd, which is a regular weekly Sabbath and a high holy Sabbath, you would start your count from day 23. You got that? So how many weeks do you have left? 1 week. From 23 to 29, that's 1 week and 1 Sabbath. You got me? Now you spot the new moon again the next month. You start your count again. How many weeks do you see on this calendar? 4. So we had 1 from the prior calendar and 4 from this. That makes 5 weeks. Remember, 7 Sabbaths, 7 weeks must be complete. So then we go to spot our new moon again. Once you start the new moon again, then you start your count. You need to start practicing this immediately. Estimate it. But one of the problems is that you can't do anything until the new moon comes out. So you have to wait until you spot that new moon. We need 2 more Sabbaths. So we see the 8th is 1 Sabbath and the 15th is the 2nd Sabbath. If we add these 2 Sabbaths to the 5 before, 7 Sabbaths have been complete. Note, what day do you come on? The 15th. Do you see that all of his feast days, Passover starts on the 15th. Feast of Tabernacles starts on the 15th. And here we have Pentecost, Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks, starts on the 15th day in the evening. All of these days have a full moon. The moon is the sign of feast. Then he says that you count 1 day and you'll be on day 16. And that is the day that you do your celebration. The celebration of the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, or Pentecost, whichever term that you want to use. But I use the Feast of Weeks because you are to count 7 weeks. So now we have the day. But you have to overlay this on top of the Gregorian calendar. Now back to the statute. And then we can go into what we're going to do. Verse 19. Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offering. We already know our Mashiach got that handled in the heavenly realms. Verse 20. And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahuwah. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to Yahuwah. We know that our Mashiach, Yahusha, was our Passover lamb. There's no need for blood of bulls and goats and lambs. Verse 21, and ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day that it may be an holy convocation unto you. A holy convocation means that all of the males, old and young, were supposed to present themselves before Yahuwah at the place where he put his name. We don't have that anymore. We can't go to the church. We can't go to big arenas so that we can gather together. No, you can only do this where he has placed his name. What can we do? Ye shall do no servile work therein. You can do that, can't you? Take off from work. No servile work is to be done. Listen what he says. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. This is to be carried out in your house. This is forever, even in the land of your captivity. You can observe that. Take the day off. Now remember, we began in Lamentations because we were evicted off the land, right? We have imposters over there posing like they're us. They have the world believing the churches are giving money to them. The United States of America is giving them $5 or $50 billion per year because they think that they are the children of Yasharal. That's why we were in lamentation in the beginning. But in this part, when you get here, now you're in celebration. Brother David, how is it that we started out in lamentation, mourning, and now we're in celebration, feasting? Because this is the day that he poured out his Holy Spirit upon the children of Yasharal, so that you can return back to him. This is when he made that new covenant, so that you can return back to the land. Behold, I will make a new covenant. And this is in your New Testament, Hebrews chapter 8, with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Let me read that the way it's supposed to be. Behold, I will make a new covenant with the house of Yasharal and the house of Yahudah. Not like the covenant that I made before with their fathers. He said, this time I'm going to write these laws upon their hearts. So for all of you who feel like you're being drawn to his law, that you want to keep it, you want to learn about it, it's because he has poured out his Spirit upon you. That's why this is a day of celebration. He didn't make this covenant with the church, with the whole world. This covenant is only for you. They just lied to us for all of these years to keep us from coming back. The time of the Gentiles will end when the children of Yasharal return. And this is a statute forever in all your generations. You are to carry this out in your house. Eat, drink, be merry, be thankful that he thought so much about his children that he gave us a part of himself so that we can come back to him. He didn't do that for the Jews. He did it for you. Verse 22. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am Yahuwah, your mighty one. He just signed his name. at the end of this passage. That's how important it is. Now, all of us who have been studying the law in Deuteronomy so far, we learned something. That when you get your feels, anyone, and I said anyone, who is in the land, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, can come into your fields at any time and eat their fill. Remember that? Everyone is fed. No one goes hungry in the land. The Father will give you such an abundance in your harvest that this would be no problem. Do you remember when the Mashiach was traveling on the Sabbath day with the apostles, and they came through the cornfields and they were picking the ears and they were eating it, and they came unto the scribes and the Pharisees, and the Pharisees says, "Oh, we caught you. We caught you guys taking corn on the Sabbath day and eating it." Note, he didn't say that they were stealing corn. What they were accusing them of was picking corn on the Sabbath. If it was unlawful for them to pick corn out of any of their brother's field and eat it, that would have been the first thing they would have said. You're stealing from your brother's land. But they didn't say that. They said you're picking corn on the Sabbath day. You understand, brothers and sisters? This is the law that our Father has made for us, not for them. It's for us to make sure all of our brothers, sisters, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, everyone must be fed. Let's fast forward to modern times. We're not in the land, but the Jews are in the land, posing like they're you. A Palestinian comes to jump over the fence. He sees this harvest, all these grapes. He says, "I'm going to jump over the fence and go and eat me some grapes. I'm famished. I'm about to die." Well, if he touches that fence and he doesn't get electrocuted first, and he makes it over, and he gets into the field, and he is discovered, what do you think's going to happen to him? They're going to either blow his head off, or they're going to lock him up in jail. Here's more proof. Those are not the children of Yasharal. All of these things must be carried out, brothers and sisters. You cannot turn to the right nor to the left. You cannot add to nor take away. They have created a 13th month because their harvest could not come in on time. And the world is following them. They changed the date from March to April 19th. And everyone believes that they know what day it's supposed to be. These are the children of Satan. They've come to lead the whole world astray. And most of them, they're in such a strong delusion that they really believe that they are the children of Israel, even though they have no evidence of it. Their rabbis told them, and they believe it. Just like your pastor told you you were a Christian and you believed it because you did not do any investigation. Now let's go over what we've learned so we can see how to carry this out. The starting point. When do you start? After the Feast of Unleavened Bread is over, on that 7th day, the next day, tomorrow, after that Sabbath, that is when you are in lamentation. You're in mourning because you've been evicted from the land. Also, that day after the Sabbath is when you begin your count. 7 Sabbaths must be complete, and you must overlay the new moon calendar on top of the Gregorian calendar to find Yahuwah's feast days in the matrix that we're living in today. Once you have completed 7 Sabbaths, you are to add 1 day, and you're going to come in on the day after another Sabbath. And that is when you have your celebration. We started out in lamentation because we didn't have the land. But we ended up in the celebration because the Father has given us a tool to make it back into the land. Brothers and sisters, I hope this has been informative unto you. As usual, if you have any comments, put them on the comment board. I am ready for your questions. I hope you enjoyed your Feast of Unleavened Bread. We're looking forward to the return of our Mashiach. We are in prep mode. We're learning everything about the kingdom that we can. We're changing our lifestyle so that we don't look like the heathen, but we look like the covenant people. Shalom.